Act of the mind. Everything you see, every person, condition, limitation, and victory, is a shadow cast by the inner landscape you dwell in daily. This is not metaphor. It is not poetic exaggeration. It is the quiet, holy truth at the heart of reality. Life does not come at you. It emerges from you. There is no sculptor outside of you shaping your world. The hand that molds your experience is your own, and it moves silently, continuously, with every thought you think, belief you carry, and assumption you refuse to release. What you call reality is a mirror, but not the kind that simply reflects what stands before it. It reflects what you are being, beneath the surface, beneath the mask, beneath logic or circumstance. Reality bends itself to echo your internal essence. Always. Even when it appears otherwise. Even when you swear you're stuck, victimized, or just unlucky. It is still your mind doing the shaping. Not deliberately, not consciously perhaps, but persistently, automatically, repeatedly. Mind is the only molder of reality. Your life, though it looks like a trail of events, is actually a string of states of consciousness. The job you have, the relationships you wake up to, the body you walk around in, the money you hold or don't. All of it is evidence, not of fate, not of randomness, but of the quality and consistency of your inner state. Pause and ask yourself, what have I been interacting with in my imagination? What ongoing story have I been replaying during idle moments, waiting rooms, nighttime silences? Because that story is what's sculpting the theater of your life. You don't live in the world. You live in your perception of it, and your perception is shaped by what the mind accepts is true. Your beliefs operate like glasses you don't even realize you're wearing, tinting everything you see, everyone you meet, every move you make. And here's the secret. These beliefs are not fixed. They're chosen, not always consciously, but always. And now, in this moment, you have the power to re-choose. When you realize that all outer conditions are simply inner agreements made manifest, you stop blaming, debating, and doubting. You begin to investigate, gently, your own consciousness. Your thought patterns stop being background noise and start becoming blueprints. You start listening to the conversations you're having with yourself. You start recognizing that every word you inwardly repeat about your value, your limitations, your worthy or unworthiness, is a quiet instruction to the world around you. There's no judge in the skies deciding what you deserve. There's simply the mind, responding to itself. It responds through you, because it is you. This is a radical truth. Yes, but not meant to punish. It's meant to set you free, because if you are the molder, the shaper, the speaker of life into living form, then you are no longer a passive participant. You are creation itself. Nothing outside needs to be wrestled, begged, or convinced. There is only an inner calibration that needs to happen, a return to the knowing that thought is creative, assumption is power, and your invisible inner life is louder than anything that happens around you. You are always imagining, always interpreting, always assigning meaning. And what you consistently assume to be true about yourself, about life, about anything at all, must actualize. It must appear as experience. It has no choice. It is law. And the truest part, you don't even have to fight to make it happen. You simply have to inhabit the state. That's the act of the mind. Quiet, repetitive, still behind the eyes but thunderous in its effect. This book is not about striving. It's about awakening to the gentle, almighty creative force quietly at work in your awareness. It's not out there. It never was. It's here. Now, becoming form from your inner word. Let your mind claim what it desires. Let your imagination become sacred ground. Let the story you tell within become more real than what the eyes can see. Because reality is not solid. It's responsive. It's play in your hands. You are not here to figure it out. You're here to create it. Thought by thought, mood by mood, state by state. The world awaits your instruction. Begin now. The world is yourself pushed out. There is no one else here. Everything you touch, everyone you meet, every moment that unfolds in your daily experience is a reflection of you. Not the you wearing clothes, not the you with a name, a history, or a personality built on external things, but the deeper you, the unseen self, the consciousness you carry, the beliefs you wear invisibly, the assumptions you default to when the world grows quiet and you're left with nothing but your thoughts. This truth is startling, liberating, and confronting all at once. The world you walk through each day is made in your image. Not your surface image, your inner one. The private ideas you entertain about yourself, the roles you play internally, the things you expect from life and others. These invisible frequencies generate the mirrors you call experience. Nothing is personal, except what you make personal. The harsh words of another, the delays, the rejections, the praise, all of it is rising up in perfect synchrony with what you believe beneath the surface. You were never at the mercy of circumstance. What looks like chance is actually a pattern, and all patterns come from thought. Your relationships tell you your beliefs about love, trust, and self-worth. Your finances whisper your assumptions about value, safety, and inner permission. Every conversation, every coincidence, every pressing situation that seems independent of you is dressed in your consciousness. You might be tempted to call this unfair, but it's the most empowering thing you will ever learn. If the world is yourself pushed out, then no one needs to change but you. You don't have to beg, chase, or persuade. You don't have to protest your limitations or wait for others to catch up. The solution is always internal. When you shift within, everything must shift without. The law says so. Sometimes slowly, sometimes overnight, but always faithfully. Let this stir you. Let this awaken you. The person who frustrates you most is showing you the dialogue you silently allow in your own mind. The one who avoids you reflects how wanted or worthy you believe yourself to be. The people who praise and adore you only confirm what you've already decided deep down is true. Nothing shows up unless you hold space for it. The world answers you not just your requests, but your reverberations. So if someone belittles you, ask, what am I still echoing inside that welcomed this? When delay after delay shows up in your plans, look closer. Do I truly believe things flow for me with ease? Condemn nothing, use everything. Triggers are not punishments. They are revelations, gold mines of raw truth, revealing where old self-concepts still rule. Every emotional reaction is an arrow pointing toward an inner story, asking to be released or rewritten. The outer is teaching you the inner, not to criticize but to reveal, not to shame but to offer you the chance to step into creation. You are not here to react, you are here to direct. The moment you stop outsourcing blame and begin to reclaim the source, your own consciousness, a subtle shift begins. You step out of being a character in your movie and become the writer. A woman who sees herself as adored will live in a world that reflects that truth back to her, in loving glances, warm opportunities, and doors that open as if on cue. A man who assumes life is against him, no matter the affirmation or external help, will continue to meet resistance, not because he is cursed, but because his setup is mental. The world has ears, not ears like yours, but it hears your inner tone, your emotional signature. It listens to your dominant self-talk. It mirrors your predominant expectations. And because it loves you, not in the way people love, but in the way laws uphold order, it gives you exactly what you've rehearsed internally. Change your rehearsals, and the play changes. This is not about fixing personalities or manipulating outcomes. You don't change the mirror by smudging the glass. You change what you offer to it. You reclothe yourself in a new idea, inhabit a higher view of you, and the world obediently follows. Not because you forced it, but because it must, because it's law. So stop looking outside for what can only be born within. Let the scenes of your world teach you the truth you've long carried, consciously or unconsciously. Let every moment serve you, even the uncomfortable ones. Especially those. When you know the world is yourself pushed out, life becomes an invitation, not an accident. Every experience becomes a mirror held up to consciousness, asking gently, who are you being now? And when you answer that question with clarity, with vision, with deliberate identity, the world nods and transforms. Just like that, because it is only ever echoing you. What you focus on, you feed. There is no such thing as an idle gaze. To look at something, truly give it your attention, is to invite it nearer. Attention is the soul's way of saying yes. When you observe, contemplate, and emotionally participate in a condition, whether it be joy or sorrow, lack or abundance, You breathe more life into it. This is not metaphor, it is law. Day by day, thought by thought, your focus acts like a soft whisper to the subconscious mind. And the subconscious does not reason, it doesn't judge. It simply accepts and creates. What you continually focus upon, you impress. And what you impress takes root, grows beneath the surface, then emerges as experience. Most people do not realize they're hypnotizing themselves. They rehearse unwanted outcomes in the theater of their imagination. They call it worry. They feed fears by watering them with words, rehearsing conversations that haven't happened, scanning potential problems like old stories on loop. They think they are being realistic, but in truth, they are persistently focusing on what they do not want and giving it their energetic yes. Every complaint is an incantation. Every doubt is a form of faith in the wrong outcome. You are never just observing life, you're shaping it every time you focus your mind, like a beam of light on an idea. That's what focus is, light. And what you shine that light on responds in kind. Energy flows where that spotlight goes. If you keep reliving the past, you feed it. If you keep anticipating failure, you energize it. If you keep speaking as though you are stuck, the mind, obedient but impersonal, makes it so. But there is another choice. You can take the artifact of focus, this gift of being able to fix your inner gaze on a vision, and reclaim your part in creation. Start simply. Stop rehearsing what you no longer want to live. When your mind wanders to the memory that hurt you, gently pivot. When it picks up that thread of old limitation, it always goes wrong. They never choose me. Money is hard to keep. Interrupt it like a scratched record and replace the phrase. Not to suppress, but to redirect. Focus is not forceful. It's soft, but consistent. And consistency is power. We don't access miracles by pleading for them. We access them by learning to dwell in the mental scenes where they've already happened. Your future self exists now, but only in the dimension of focus. What you focus on, you start to feel. And what you feel, you begin to embody. Everything else, the how, the timing, the bridge of events, gets taken care of by the silent, secret mechanism of the subconscious mind. All you need to do is return, again and again, to the state you wish to nourish, until that state feels like home. Imagine this. Your life is a garden, your mind the water. Every thought you return to is a seed you choose to irrigate. Some will blossom into beauty, some will sprout weeds. But the garden does not judge. It simply grows what you choose to focus on. So choose carefully. Choose with love. Focus is not just attention, it's investment. It is a sacred currency. You spend it with every vision you entertain, every word you affirm, every image you replay. Do not keep funding patterns you want to leave behind. Start small. Speak only what you're willing to see more of. Focus only on what you'd love to live. Whisper gratitude, not just for what has happened, but for what is unfolding, because your focus is summoning it even now. The moment you stop feeding the old narrative, it begins to fade. Starved of your energy, it has no choice but to dissolve. You are not at the mercy of your environment. Your environment is at the mercy of your focus. If you keep affirming chaos, you'll see it everywhere. But if you become a disciple of clarity, your world will reflect it with precision. Choose again. Choose vision over reaction, creation over repetition. The mind was never meant to be a prisoner of circumstance. It is a projector, and you are the scriptwriter. The images you feed it now become reality later. What you feed lives. So feed the future that aligns with who you are becoming, not the past that whispers fear and familiarity. Turn your gaze inward, bring your focus home, and remember, in the garden of the mind, your attention is the sun. Let it shine only on what you wish to grow. Thoughts become things, because you believe. You can think 1,000 thoughts a day and remain exactly where you are. But the moment you believe one of them, it begins to move. Nothing enters your life unless it first passed through the gate of your belief. Not because belief is a virtue, but because it is the law. Belief is not something you try to have. It's something you live from, often without realizing it. It's the invisible lens your world is being filtered through. You are always believing something, and that something is always creating. A thought on its own is a spark. It flickers, it passes. But a thought married to belief becomes a mold. It shapes, it sticks. It roots itself in the subconscious and quietly says, "This is who we are now." And the subconscious, bound to obey, never to question, begins to reorder your world to match that new command. This is why many feel exhausted trying to think positively. Because the surface mind is whispering hope, while the deep heart is still believing the opposite. You might say, "I'm wealthy," while quietly believing, "I never have enough." You might affirm, "I am loved," while secretly assuming that love will leave. In manifestation, it is not the louder voice that wins. It is the deeper one. Not the words you chant, but the truths you embody. Belief is how the universe knows you are serious. It is the signature of your inner decision. There are no neutral beliefs. Every belief is a command. Some are blessings, some are prisons, but none are passive. You might hold a belief that says, "Getting ahead is hard," or "I always attract the wrong people," or "Time is running out." You've likely repeated these phrases so many times, not out loud, but internally, that they've turned into laws. But they are only laws in your world because you accepted them as true. And the moment you decide to question them, really question them, they begin to lose their grip. What if the reason something keeps happening in your life is because you're just believing that it must? What if you're not stuck? You're just loyal to a belief you never chose. Take a breath. Listen, there is nothing wrong with you. You didn't plant these beliefs maliciously. Most of them were inherited, from the people around you, from childhood, from culture, from repetition. They were smuggled into your system early, like background music on repeat, becoming part of the emotional landscape you walk through daily. But the good news is, if you didn't consciously install them, then you can consciously uninstall them. Belief doesn't change through logic. It changes through experience. A new thought must be felt to be believed. It must be tried on like a coat, and rehearsed like a new rhythm. And once it feels natural, once the belief no longer feels like an affirmation, but like the truth, then manifestation begins. Not as a Sunday event, but as a now unfolding. And here's the secret most never tell you. You don't need to believe the new thought fully right away. You only need to believe it is possible. Every powerful belief began as a maybe. Maybe I am worthy. Maybe I can earn more. Maybe I can trust again. These maybes are not weak. They are holy cracks in the wall. And once a crack appears, light can enter. So let it enter. Through your inner conversations, through your new assumptions, through gentle thoughts that speak a better world into being. Let yourself romanticize the life you desire. Let yourself dream wildly and shamelessly, because your subconscious isn't judging you. It's always listening for what you believe is normal. When wealth, wellness, joy, and love feel normal to you, they start to show up automatically. And you are not here to keep repeating what's been programmed into you. You are here to reprogram, to rewrite, to recreate. Not through force, but through alignment. Not by controlling the outside, but by upgrading the inside. Not by waiting for proof, but by becoming proof. You are the channel through which new realities enter this world. There is no such thing as an idle belief. Every one of them speaks to the universe on your behalf. So speak what you desire. Believe what lifts you. Remind yourself daily. Thoughts don't become things because you think them. They become things because you believe them. And belief, that is yours to choose. Assumption is a creative act. There is a quiet moment between desire and manifestation. A breathless stillness where the world hasn't caught up to your vision yet, but your inner world already knows it is done. That moment is sacred. It's where the old dissolves and the new is born. It is the moment of assumption, when you stop asking, wondering, or waiting, and instead, you live from the reality of your desire, internally, completely, and without hesitation. Assumption is not hoping. It is not wishing. It is not pretending with fingers crossed. Assumption is creation. It is a spiritual decree whispered in silence. It is you stepping into the invisible costume of who you wish to be, and walking as if that identity were already yours. And here's the great mystery. When you inhabit a state as real, the outer world, which only knows how to mirror, moves to reflect your inner scenery. What you persist in assuming, you invite into form. Many wait for signs before they believe. Many postpone their faith, demanding evidence before devotion. But creation does not work that way. To demand proof before belief is to walk backward through the door of transformation. The law is reversed. It does not say, see it, then feel it. It says, feel it, and you shall see. Assumption is the seed, not the sprout. It is the command, not the confirmation. Imagine wearing a coat in winter. You don't need anyone to tell you it's warm. You experience it. You slip your arms through the sleeves, zip it up, and embody what warmth feels like. Assumption is the same. You wrap yourself in a vibration, put on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and move through the day as if it is already true. This is not deception, it's deep inner alignment. You dwell in the end. You take no interest in how or when. Those are not your parts to play. Your sole job is to live from the state, not toward it. And this state has a fragrance, subtle but strong. It changes your posture, your tone, your expectations. You begin to speak to people differently. You respond to setbacks as someone who already knows the outcome is sealed. You walk with a quiet certainty that doesn't shout to be heard. This is the essence of authority without force. Life listens to those who assume boldly. To assume is to claim. If you truly assume love, you are no longer searching for evidence of it. If you assume wealth, you no longer obsess over lack. If you assume health, you stop scanning for the symptoms of illness. You must choose your end and rest in its reality. Let your feeling of it become familiar, even if the facts scream the opposite. Your senses lie, but your consciousness creates. All things respond to assumption, because all things emerge from consciousness. Outsiders may see your calm and mistake it for denial, but you know better. Internally, you're planting the invisible seeds of a new reality, and your garden will bloom in due time. This inner certainty is not born from logic. It comes from understanding yourself as the source. You no longer panic at delay, because delay is not denial. Delay is simply the echo of past thoughts fading, while your assumed truth takes shape. Assumption is never passive. It requires the steadiness of a soul who refuses to be seduced by appearances. When the outer world contradicts your vision, you do not flinch. When fear knocks, you do not answer. You remain inner aligned, unwavering, unlived. Like an artist who sees the finished masterpiece before the first brushstroke, you live from the unseen. You rehearse the victory, not because you're delusional, but because you know. The outer must yield to the inner. Let go of waiting. Waiting is prolonged disbelief dressed in politeness. Manifestation responds to those who move first, in mind, in state, in conviction. When you claim it inwardly and feel it as your norm, the world conspires to match you. It cannot resist. Nothing stands between you and your assumption, but your own hesitation. So today, assume. Not as a performance, but as a quiet act of creation. Enter the state of your desire gently, persistently, as a lover would enter a room with deep familiarity. Dwell in that place until it feels like home. It is a home you built with thought, belief, and unshakable feeling. And once lived in long enough, it becomes your outer address. This is the secret whispered in all true manifestation. You do not become what you want, you become what you assume. And assumption, when repeated as fact within, must harden into fact without. Assume wisely. Assume boldly. Assume now. Imagination plus belief equals manifestation. Close your eyes and enter the world behind your eyelids, the realm where limitation disappears and every possibility breathes. This world is not fantasy. It is not fiction. It is creation, in its raw, unformed state. It is where everything you've ever longed for first whispered itself into existence, and it is where everything begins. Imagination is not child's play. It is divine rehearsal. It is your first act of authorship, where you feel the scene, live the moment, and dwell in the reality beyond the senses. But this realm, beautiful as it is, remains suspended unless one more ingredient is added: belief. Belief is the doorway. It is the force that invites what you imagine to step into this dimension and take shape. You can fantasize for years and watch nothing change, not because the vision wasn't beautiful, but because you secretly didn't believe it could be yours. Imagination without belief stays locked in the realm of daydreams, painting sunsets in clouds that no foot ever touches. But once belief enters, everything moves. Once belief catches up to the picture, the invisible begins to crystallize. You may not realize it, but you're always imagining, always believing. You imagine worst-case scenarios and believe they're likely. You imagine being judged, rejected, overlooked, and within days, you notice it becoming true. This is not punishment. It is law. It is the exact same power you can reverse, elevate, and use to summon your highest self into being. Imagination is the seed. Belief is the soil. The two must meet for the thing to grow. When you see yourself living the life you've desired, not wishing for it, but experiencing it vividly, and you combine that picture with the feeling of, yes, this is mine, you move into alignment with its physical arrival, not because you're forcing it, but because you're embodying it. You're becoming it before it shows up. Reality has no choice but to mirror what you reside in. Nothing separates manifestation from you but a gap of conviction. That gap is not crossed through effort, but through immersion. See it, feel it, believe it, again and again, until someday becomes, of course. Imagination, without belief, flickers like a dream you forget on waking. But imagination fused with belief? That's a portal, a code that reality must follow. You don't have to know how it will arrive. You only have to saturate your consciousness with the certainty that it is done. Let go of evidence. Walk by the inner picture. Let it speak louder than the current facts swirling around you. The outer world is slow, dense, delayed, but the inner world is instant, immediate. When you enter a scene in your imagination and believe it in your bones, you're sending out a spiritual declaration. You're impressing the subconscious with a new pattern, so vivid, it begins bending life to match that frequency. You're not performing magic, you're following spiritual law. You didn't imagine the life that broke, you rehearsed it subconsciously. You felt unworthy, unloved, unlucky, and the world simply followed orders. Now you're waking up. You know where the power lives. You're no longer just imagining, you're believing. So build your visions carefully. Don't wish, declare. Don't daydream, embody. Don't peek at your desire like it's a foreign object. Wrap yourself in it. Touch the fabric of your wish fulfilled. Feel the texture of the moment after the breakthrough. Hear the voices telling you, congratulations. Smell the air of your new lifestyle. Taste the joy of relief and arrival. That is not fiction. That is creative alignment. That is the architecture of reality being revised from the inside out. Train your imagination not to escape, but to decree. Let your belief not be passive, but full-bodied. A knowing so deep, the world cannot talk you out of it. There's no force stopping your desires, but the story you continue to accept is true. Change the story, and the ending can't help but shift. You were never meant to live by circumstance. You were meant to live by composition. The kind that begins in the theater of the soul, where idea becomes image, and image becomes fact. So ask yourself now, what am I imagining, and do I believe it enough to let it live in me, speak through me, shape my very being? For the moment you do, everything changes. You are the operant power. There comes a moment in every conscious journey when you stop looking outside of yourself. The search for signs, for validation, for someone to give you permission to believe, falls quiet. You stand still, not in uncertainty, but in realization. It was always you. Striving, the doubts, the waiting was a forgetfulness of power. And in that instant of remembering, life rearranges. You are not a subject in the story. You are the author. You are not under the rule of unseen forces or random fate. The tides of your life rise and fall with the current of your inner authority. You are the operant power, which means you don't react to the world. You create it from within. Decisions made in the silence of your mind carry more weight than events in the outside world. The world is clay. Your consciousness is the sculptor. There is something deeply humbling and wildly empowering about understanding that no one is doing life to you. Destiny is not something you're handed. It's something you imagine and accept, often without realizing. And the moment you stop assigning your outcomes to luck, astrology, background, algorithms, other people's moods, market conditions, or childhood wounds, you reclaim the entire canvas. There is nothing toxic about believing in your own creative power.
You are not bypassing reality, you are shaping it. You don't need to explain how it will unfold. You only need to be the one who chooses what is true for you now, and persist in that chosen truth until it becomes visible. The operant power is not frantic. It is calm, clear, unshaken by appearances. If a seed knows how to become a forest, your imagination knows how to unfold itself as reality if you'll let it. Most people live in a waiting room of the mind, waiting for inspiration, for proof, for external confirmation that it's safe to believe. But waiting is still believing, in delay. You have already been manifesting. Always the difference now is that you're conscious of it. When you recognize yourself as the operant power, you stop asking, why isn't it here yet? And start living like, it can't not come, it is already done under my command. You begin to claim things not with force, but with knowing. This is a different kind of power, quiet and undeniable. It listens less to the world and more to the whisper inside. It is done. External resistance loses its grip when your internal decision is firm. Your reality is not responding to your hopes, it's obeying your convictions. Believing is not wishing, it is knowing. It's a choice you make again and again, even when the senses show you something else, especially then. Power isn't loud, it's consistent. When you accept that the seeming outer world is just the echo of your inner world, and that nothing moves unless you move it in consciousness, you stop worshipping circumstances and start commanding cause. You stop fixating on what is and start affirming what you're now giving life to. Choosing to believe before the evidence shows up is not delusion, it's creation. This is not about positive thinking for the sake of comfort. It's about aligning your mind with the truth you want made manifest and refusing to contradict it. To say, I am the one who decides, and then speak, think, feel and imagine from that place. This is the sacred act of self-initiation. You step out of the victim vibration and into the high voltage of your own agency. There's no power in passivity. The moment you wait for permission, you give your power away. But when you declare, this is who I am, this is what I accept, this is what I claim, you activate a field of unseen cooperation. Life responds not to your desires, but to your certainty. Your inner world is a command center, and it's time you treated it like one. This doesn't mean your human self won't have moments of doubt, but you will notice the difference between the voice of your old programming and the voice of your chosen identity. And with awareness, you'll no longer mistake fear for truth. No more wondering if the universe supports your desires. You are the universe in microform. The moment you align, accept, and persist, reality conforms, and if not instantly, persistently. You are the operant power. You are the decision maker, the projector, the origin point. Everything begins with you, and it begins now. Your state of mind is your fate. There is no luck, no random destiny flickering in the dark, picking winners and forgetting others. There is only consciousness, and the state you continually occupy within it. Life is not responding to your wishes, but to who you've accepted yourself as. The world is not reacting to your surface desires, it is echoing your deep identity. You may say you want wealth, love, freedom, or peace, but what does your state of being truly align with? Your state is the atmospheric pressure of your mind, and it determines the weather of your world. It is the emotional frequency you broadcast even in silence. It is the inner posture you take when no one is watching, and it speaks louder than any affirmation you could chant. Fate is not in the skies. It's sitting gently in your current state of mind. You may try to change your habits, your routines, your external efforts, but if you remain in the same inner state, life will return the same patterns in new disguises. The same types of relationships, the same financial loops, the same self-sabotage in another outfit. The outer world cannot refuse the instructions given to it by the inner world. You cannot outwork your state. You must outgrow it. Your state is not just how you feel. It's what you know yourself to be. It's subtle, but decisive. A person can smile and affirm I am abundant, while feeling uncertain, tense, or grasping. That state, not the words, is the message the universe receives. It is not about how you look externally, but what you carry internally. Do you truly feel rich within? Do you feel loved? Do you feel safe, whole, supported by the invisible? The state you occupy determines how reality shapes itself around you.
It's not a matter of forcing yourself to be positive all the time. It's a matter of choosing deliberately and persistently to enter the inner reality where the thing you desire is already true. You walk into a state like you walk into a room, through consciousness, through attention, through belief. It may feel unfamiliar at first, like wearing new clothes that don't yet feel like yours. But persist, and it will become natural. You will forget you ever lived any other way. The new state will become your home.
And from that home, new futures are born. People will treat you differently. Opportunities will arise where there were once walls. The phone call will come. The message will appear, not by compulsion, but by law. Because once the state changes, the script must follow.
Identity is creation. The moment you assume a new identity, a new state of being, you change the timeline you're tracking, not in some theoretical future, but in this very moment. The field of possibilities bends to the state of the observer. When you identify as someone unworthy, unconsciously, historically, habitually, you will filter life through that lens and receive proof of lack. Not because life is cruel, but because life cannot violate your identity. You are always being mirrored back to yourself. So, what state are you in now? And not just this minute. Where do you live when you're not paying attention? That's the state that governs your manifestations. Not the brief moments of desire, but the long, quiet hours of your assumed emotional baseline. The way you feel about yourself, the story you tell in your mind when nothing is happening. You already know this truth intuitively. You felt it before. The day something in you finally let go and truly felt deserving, and then the miracle arrived. The time you fully believed something would work out, and it unfolded with ease.
Those weren't coincidences. They were confirmations. Proof that when your inner climate changes, everything else must adjust to accommodate it. The universe is obedient to your state, even when you are unaware of the signal you're sending.
So ask yourself, what if you stopped chasing the outcome and started dwelling in the state where the outcome is already yours? Not pretending, not faking, but feeling it, deeply, daily, inwardly. What would it feel like to be the person who already has what you want? What would thinking feel like? How would walking feel? How would breathing feel in that state? Because that's the secret. You think you're waiting for your life to change before you can feel that way. But actually, your life is waiting for you to feel that way, so it can change. Adopt that state, not for a moment, but consistently. Quietly, faithfully, and the world has no choice. It must become what you have accepted as true within. Fate is not a punishment or a reward, it is a reflection. And you are not broken, lost, or stuck. You are simply in a state that reflects an older version of you. But the moment you choose again, the moment you claim a new state, not with force, but with faith, the old fate begins to dissolve. Reality remolds, and something ancient and infinite within you softly reminds you, you never had to chase anything. You only had to become it. You think in pictures. You live in reflections. Close your eyes. Who are you? Don't answer with words. Let the image come. Let the feeling rise. Notice the movie that begins to play on the inside. Are you successful, afraid, loved, capable, stuck, radiant, overwhelmed? Your mind speaks in images. It dreams in symbols, feels in visions, moves in inner movies that are shaping your outer life in real time. You think in pictures, and those pictures are not innocent. They are blueprints. Every time you replay a mental scene, you're feeding it life. Whether it's a silent fear of being left unseen, or a vivid fantasy of being wildly successful, your subconscious takes note, not in words, but in visuals and emotion. And from that inner screen, your world rises. Life does not respond to empty affirmations. Life responds to the deep imaginal tones of belief that hum quietly beneath your daily actions. It responds to the scene you accept as, this is who I am. And your outer world becomes its reflection. That relationship that keeps going cold? It's not random. Somewhere in your inner theater, there's a picture of yourself being rejected, or unworthy, or abandoned. That recurring financial struggle? Look again. Somewhere in your consciousness, you've accepted the role of the struggler,
the hopeful survivor, the almost there but never quite. You may think you're working hard to change the externals, but the root has always been internal, in the roles you rehearse in silence. If you want to know who you really are, don't look in the mirror, look in the mental movie that plays behind your eyes when no one is watching. That is your true identity. And your world, like a loyal servant, keeps matching it. The imagination is not fantasy. It is function, it is purpose, it is power. Every great change in history was preceded by someone seeing it first in mind. Every miracle, every business, every love affair, every healing, it all began in someone's consciousness who dared to claim a picture that was not yet real. They rehearsed it, felt it, dwelled in it until it became natural, and then it reflected. The danger is that most people allow their mental movie to be chosen by default. They let childhood wounds, news headlines, and the expectations of others dictate what pictures play again and again. Without even meaning to, they unconsciously rehearse scenes of failure, disconnection, and lack, and then feel betrayed when life complies. But there's a deeper truth, one that returns your power in a single breath. No one else controls what you imagine. That theater belongs to you, and by changing the picture, you change everything. Don't wait for proof. Don't wait for permission. Dare to enter a new scene, a bold, grace-filled, unapologetically abundant version of yourself. Walk through that world in your mind, not as a desperate seeker, but as a calm knower. Rewrite the script. Recast the roles. If your past visions were based in lack, shift now. Choose one made of wholeness. Feel the colors change. Let the light in through the windows. Let the silence echo with new laughter. You are not deceiving yourself. You are awakening yourself. What if the only real limitation is your unwillingness to change the picture? You don't need to fight the old scene. You just need to stop feeding it. Withdraw your emotional investment from the soul-worn roles you've repeated, and choose again. When you place feeling and faith into a new imaginal act, you draw from the divine workshop of actualization. And soon, life mirrors you back with strange coincidences, new doors, delays dissolving into speed, all because you occupied a different scene. People will tell you to be realistic, but your current reality was once just a practiced inner picture. So why not practice something better? The world is not an objective arena of fixed truths. It's a hall of mirrors, bending around the shapes of your mental scenes. And the clearer, more consistently you can dwell in your chosen image, the faster the mirror shifts. Your job is not to fix the reflection, it is to flood the mind with new light. See yourself as healed, not healing. See yourself as chosen, not chasing. See yourself as the one it works for, not the one who's still trying. The pictures will sculpt the circumstance. Hold them with love. Dress them with gratitude. Anchor them with feeling, because you are always manifesting. The only question is, what movie are you playing? Emotion is the magnet of the mind. Everything you think, everything you imagine, everything you silently dwell on, is clothed in one thing before it enters your world: emotion. Your emotional tone is not just the background music of life. It's the magnetic pull that draws your reality together. You may believe you are being logical or neutral, but underneath every passing thought is a pulse, a frequency, a vibration, and it's this emotional undercurrent that decides what manifests. The mind gives birth to the form, but emotion gives it breath. You could repeat affirmations all day. You could visualize the life of your dreams in perfect clarity, but without the emotional imprint, the genuine inner agreement, it remains a shadow image, stuck in waiting. Emotion is what stamps the image with authority. It's the difference between pretending and believing, between imagining and embodying. When you feel something with conviction, your subconscious listens, your world listens, and it obeys. Emotion is not weakness. It is power. Raw, interpretive, invisible power. It is the current that surges behind every manifestation, whether intentional or unconscious. Most don't recognize this, because they are reacting to their world instead of consciously feeling from the end. They let the outer world dictate their emotional state, never realizing that their emotions are the tuning fork from which the world takes its cue. Break this pattern. Begin to see emotion, not as a reaction, but as a cause. Ask yourself, what inner tone am I rehearsing every day? Do I dwell in worry or wealth? Do I speak from lack or from love? Do I quietly expect rejection Or do I welcome the surety of connection? The answers matter more than you think, because those feelings are your silent electromagnetic signals that call people, events, and conditions directly to you. This is why miracles don't come from forced effort. They come through emotional alignment. The feeling is the secret chamber where the transformation happens. When your imagination creates a beautiful outcome, and you match it with the elixir of emotion, joy, relief, faith, gratitude, you have ignited the motor of manifestation. The image moves, the scene breathes, the universe listens, and the world begins to rearrange accordingly. Here's the mystery revealed. You don't need to wait for good circumstances to feel good. You feel good first, and the good circumstances follow your lead. This is not delusion, it's the original design of consciousness. Your subconscious mind receives feeling, not logic, impression, not argument. It doesn't ask what's true, it accepts what you feel as true. So every time you choose a new mood, you are bending probabilities. Every time you cultivate peace in the midst of chaos, you are reshaping timelines. And every time you feel abundance in the face of uncertainty, you are creating a new chain of events that must echo that decision. Emotion is not just felt, it is broadcast. It is the silent radio you are constantly transmitting, and the people and experiences in your life are tuning in, responding, showing up to match the frequency of your emotional core. You don't need perfect technique. You don't need willpower or psychic gifts. You simply need to feel on purpose. Choose on purpose. Direct your emotional current instead of being swept away by it. So much of what you call reality is simply the emotion you've unknowingly extended into form. The fight you keep having, the balance you never find, the opportunities that seem to just miss you. Trace them back, not to circumstances, but to emotions long sustained and rarely examined. You've been carrying emotions like habits, but now you're about to choose again. Sit quietly, feel the outcome you desire as if it were already done, not with desperation or strain, but with the soft certainty that says, "It is mine, I remember this." Dwell in that feeling long enough, and the mental image will crystallize, and from that image lined with emotion, life must respond. Like a garden responds to the sun, like tides respond to the moon, emotion is the great amplifier. It doesn't just follow thought, it empowers it. It brings the invisible into clarity. It tells the universe, this and nothing else. So if you want to know what you are manifesting, don't just ask what you're thinking, ask what you're feeling, day in and day out, behind the scenes. That low hum beneath your thoughts, that's what's drawing form into your life. And you have the power, right here, right now, to change its tune. Choose a new feeling. Infuse it with faith. Flood your inner world with the frequency of your desired end. And the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. Not eventually, but inevitably. The mind is always manifesting, compumably or not. There is no pause button on the creative power within you. Your mind is never off duty. Even as you drift through autopilot routines, even as you scroll, worry, dream, or replay yesterday's dialogue, your consciousness is casting its vote, sending its commands, impressing its blueprint onto the substance of life. Manifestation doesn't begin when you light a candle or write in your journal. It's been happening all along. This may be the most liberating or the most unnerving realization, depending on how you meet it. But here's the truth. The law is always working. It does not sleep. It does not wait for your permission. The outer world continues to organize itself around your most dominant inner realities. When you're conscious of what you're thinking, assuming, and entertaining on the inner screen, you become deliberate, precise. But when you aren't, it doesn't stop the engine. It simply follows the momentum of your unconscious state, like a ship drifting toward a direction it was given long ago. So ask yourself this, gently but truthfully. What has your mind been registering on repeat? The inner stories you rehearse, the quiet doubts you allow, the emotions you indulge before sleep. All of it speaks to the subconscious in the language it understands best, repetition and feeling. Like a garden that doesn't discriminate between flowers and weeds, your inner space accepts what you plant and brings it forth without question. Not because you're being punished, not because the universe is cruel or random, but because the law is faithful. It reflects. And it's not just the obvious thoughts that manifest. It's the mood you live in, the part of your identity you keep circling back to, the conclusions you silently draw after every experience. These are the seeds that do the real growing. Not the brief affirmations you whisper once a day, but the stories you embody without even noticing. You may wonder, if the mind is always creating, why haven't all my desires appeared yet? Because it is not merely about desiring, it is about assuming. Wanting something, while predominantly believing the opposite, is like trying to steer a car with the brake pressed down. The engine's running, the wheels are moving, but the friction of doubt is stronger than the desire itself. The subconscious does not hear your wish list, it hears your state. Your life will match your state, not your wish list. So now, let us reclaim what was once automatic. Let us make conscious what has been unconsciously steering the wheel. Lift the hood, observe without blame. Watch how your mind speaks when no one is watching. When you meet a delay, notice the story you tell yourself about it. When a person reacts toward you, observe how you interpret it inwardly. These split-second narratives are not innocent. They are instructions to life. Waking up means noticing where your mind has gone on cruise control, and lovingly, patiently, redirecting it. Don't be afraid of what you find in that awareness. You are not here to judge your past states, only to rise from them. Even a deeply rooted pattern has no power over the one who has awakened to it. The moment you see it, it loses its grip. This is the hard truth most miss. Your patterns do not bind you. Your unconscious agreement with them does. And the moment you look at that agreement, and revoke it, you are free. What if you chose now to become aware, on purpose, to choose your inner state the way you choose clothes in the morning, to think as one who already is, already has, already knows the end of their story? You do not need to wait to align your energy. You simply need to fall out of agreement with the old state and rest in the new one on purpose, with feeling, over and over, until it fits you like skin, until it's more familiar than the wound, until your future no longer feels foreign, but native. The mind is always manifesting, and now, so are you. Not randomly, not reactively, but deliberately. You are no longer broadcasting unconscious instructions into the silence. You are the conscious sender now, transmitting a new frequency, and creation is already listening. Let it respond not to your effort, but to your assumption, not to your outer struggle, but to your inner knowing. You are always manifesting. Now you're manifesting with your eyes open. Reclaim your mind. Reclaim your world. You were never meant to live by default. You were never born to drift. Your mind, the divine projector behind all that you experience, was always meant to be directed, not wandered. Life was not designed to dominate you. You were designed to author it. But for most, the mind has been handed over to fear, to culture, to suggestion, to patterns formed in pain. And slowly, almost silently, the world becomes a picture of this borrowed inner chatter. The time has come to take it back. To reclaim your mind is to reclaim your authorship, not of vague dreams or someday goals, but of this moment, this breath, this state. The world is not waiting for your effort. It is waiting for your alignment, waiting for your mind to stop reacting and start choosing. Reclaiming your mind means you no longer blindly identify with every voice that speaks within you. You become the observer, the decider, the countermove to each unwanted thought. No longer are you a slave to mental noise, you are the stillness that shapes it. What you believe, you broadcast. What you accept, you energize. Repeating beliefs become background music, unnoticed but powerful. They attract proof. They summon patterns. Most people don't realize they're reliving replays, not choosing anew. It's time to unplug the loop, to stop reciting the script given to you by yesterday's self, and write a new one, bold, free, unshakable. Your dominant thoughts today are tomorrow's reality. When you reclaim the inner script, the outer movie must change. To reclaim your mind is to return to the throne of your inner world and sit in it, unwavering. It's not about controlling every random thought. It's about mastering your dwelling place in consciousness. You may visit fear, but do not live there. You may encounter doubt, but know it is not your home. Live where your fulfilled desire lives. Speak from that place. Imagine from that place. Feel from that place. And you will invisibly command a shift in every room, event, and encounter. Reclaiming your mind is also reclaiming your authority, the sacred permission to speak light into chaos, to say yes only to that which mirrors your truth, and to walk away from every assumption that no longer fits your identity. You are not here to convince others. You are here to command yourself, silently and persistently, through the inner conversations you entertain and the tones you echo inside. Say to your own subconscious, "This is who I am now. This is what I accept. This is what I decree." And let nothing within you argue it longer than a breath. You are not lost. There is no distance between you and your desires, only a flicker of awareness. You reclaim your mind by remembering that consciousness creates form. Fully, constantly, lovingly. Your world is not fixed, and neither is your fate. It lives and breathes with your attention. What you ignore dissolves. What you embrace magnifies. You reclaim your mind by choosing your thoughts as carefully as you choose what to wear on your most important day, because you are dressing your future in every imagined idea. To reclaim your mind is to look at life's current and declare, "I am not at its mercy. I am its source." It is to leave the trance of limitation and walk awake in your inner dominion. It's not about racing to a result. It's about becoming still, becoming clear, and becoming deliberate. Daily, moment by moment, until your natural response to circumstance is no longer fear, but creation. No longer self-doubt, but inner decree. No longer waiting, but being. Fully. This is the final truth, the open door. Everything you seek is seeking the version of you who has already chosen it within. It is not somewhere out there. It is here, right now, in mind, waiting to move into matter through your acceptance, your declaration, your frequency of thought. You don't become powerful. You reveal the power that was buried beneath distraction, hesitation, and forgetfulness. And now, you remember. This world, your world, begins and ends in you. Reclaim your mind. Reclaim your vision. Speak with finality. See with faith. Imagine with precision. Feel with certainty. Return again and again to the inner chamber where everything is made. And from this place, watch your world conform. You have always been the one creating. Now, you are making it conscious.